Hi, Mr. Ferrari, you feeling better, Anthony?
Not 100%.
All right.
Feel a little better though.
Maybe if you take a couple of days off after this, you'll,
I doubled my medication, so
good.
I'm ready to go.
It's over 100 years.
I appreciate you making me dinner too, guys. I brought I got it. I brought I see school for years. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order the Schenectady City Council Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, and turn it over to Mr. Mutavera.
Thank you. I would like to call the Finance Committee to order, and we're just going to go into discussion from where we left off at the last meeting. I think some members had some reservation in terms of wanting to hold the meeting from last Friday to bring it back to this today, to continue some discussion and then move forward. So I'll hand it over to, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Definitely the way we left the meeting last week, I think it was very prudent for Mr. Farley to request some additional time. And I do think there's always time and value in being able to digest information and then understand it and then reevaluate your positions. And then based on the conversations that I've had with both Chief Clifford and Chief Marino, and then also the show of support that we've seen at both meetings, I would be comfortable returning 30% of the previously identified reductions in police overtime and also to the fire department. I still hold firmly with utilizing the vacancies and whatever amount of time that they are still unfilled, and I still hold that working collaboratively with the investments that both departments are making with respect to technologies, I think the cost savings will be there, and this concession is more of a reflection on where some of my other colleagues stand, and also trying to make sure that we negotiate in good faith and make those compromises where needed.
So you're suggesting that we get back 30% of free overtime reduction?
Mm.
Any other discussion on this?
Well, I would certainly support
Go
that.
ahead, please.
I'm sorry. I would certainly support that, and, you know, and being candid. I have also spoken with both the fire chief and the police chief regarding this, and However, consistently in this situation, we're trying to make sure that we do the best we can for all of our residents, including taxes, including making sure we have lines in line for overtime. And so, you know, I would definitely support that. I know that in years past, we have reduced the overtime budget for the police and been able to, you know, to make it through. And if we haven't, then move money to the other line. So I would definitely, based on our conversations, be in favor of restoring that.
Any other discussion on this?
Oh,
Go ahead.
about this or just about,
No, this thing all the time.
okay.
Go ahead, please.
I appreciate that, Ms. Porterfield and Mr. Williams are trying to make a compromise, but I would like to see us, stick with what the overtime would be in the original budget as presented by the mayor and the chief of police and fire chief.
Any other discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
and where are you looking to come up with that 30%?
Go ahead.
So
Please, sorry, go ahead.
I would say to Ms. Patrick's point, and I think we've heard this repeated multiple times, I definitely respect the experience that Chief Marino and Chief Clifford have brought to this discussion. I think where our input is much valued is evaluating it from the collective interest of the city of Schenectady. And I think that is where it's important to identify how we need to evaluate the recommendations in totality. So to the mayor's point, I would recommend that if in previous years, any cost savings are returned to the general funds, I would say that these overtime concessions would be taken out of the general funds.
So just for now, go ahead.
Not quite sure what that means.
Are you talking about fund balance?
I don't understand.
Fund, yes, okay, thanks. I think that's what you referenced.
So if you draw 330,000 of the fund balance,
150, yeah. 300, yeah, sorry, 3. That's what it worked out to. So just for the number 6, so the proposal from last Friday was $500,000 for the police overtime under 3122-112. So with a 30% on the table to claw back, that will bring it down to $350,000. And then the police overtime for 3123-112, $110,000, and 30% reduction, that will be bringing it to $77,000. And the same for the fire department, that will be $350,000. Any other discussion on this? Are there any other discussion regarding? Go ahead, please.
So, and we also moved some money in engineering from the line and just moved it into fees for services along with the fringes. And I'm suggesting if we, and Mr. Farley also suggested this as well, that if we're moving to the line, we just move it back to the line to hire a person and give the engineer, the city engineer, an opportunity to hire a person, as we did with the various other positions that the mayor spoke about that hadn't been filled for a while, but however, he wanted to leave there so that we could fill it. So it's there's no impact on budget because what we had said was going to happen, what was suggested, is that we move all of the money. So if we move it back, it just becomes a wash. So I'm suggesting we move it back, have an opportunity to hire for that position. And also, it's not, administratively, I know that the council cannot do this, but really work hard with the HR department to identify candidates and have that done as as opposed to only having it, done in the engineering department.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, and thank you. If you had really listened to your fellow councilmen, you would want the full funding, that police chief. And if you'd listened to Police Chief Clifford and Marino, then you would have known that the full funding was what we would like to keep in the budget. That's all I need to say.
Mr. Maverick,
Go ahead, please.
I would say likewise, if you would have listened to my stance, you would appreciate that this is my attempt at working with all of us collectively.
I think as a group, we should listen to each other, bring valuable points or opinions to the table, and we should never ever discount each other's opinion. If it's bad or good, we just should have the opportunity to listen. So can we recap on this engineering stuff again, because we went back to overtime and this.
So at the last meeting, the recommendation was removing from, I believe it was the civil engineer line, which is currently at 100,000, to move that into fees for services along with the fringes. So I'm recommending that we move it back to the line, that was on the line to, so that the engineering department can hire someone, because if we move the fees for services along with the salary, then, you know, it's, what's the difference of moving it back in? It should be 100%. Candid, once again, I did hear from the engineering, chief engineer, and he, you know, felt like that would be, we already moved the position, that would be in the best interest of his department to be able to hire that in that position.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
So last time we got together, I suggested, that was my suggestion as well. Not only that is, therefore we can, I think that will help us as far as consistency of, you know, keeping people, you know, here in the city. I think that if we do a fees for service, because it's really no savings to the taxpayer to do it that way. It's pretty much the same amount of money that will be allocated. So therefore, I think that we'll be better off as a city if we had someone in-house consistently that we could count on. But I do remember Mr. Paulini suggesting that we might have moved it to fees for service. And if you want to kind of elaborate on why you were thinking that, then.
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you.
So last Friday, 100,000 was moved from the civil engineer line to the fees for service. So the recommendation on the table is to move the 100,000 back into the civil engineer line. Any other discussion on this? Mr. Farley, you have any discussion? Because I know you're the one that asked.
No,
We
no.
can support that, you know, we move it to today's.
Yeah, but I just didn't, again, it's just.
I want to give you the opportunity to.
I appreciate that. No, yeah, I made my point, it was just that it wouldn't really change the impact to the taxpayers, and I think that it strengthens us as City Hall, having someone full-time. That was my thought.
Any other discussion? Go ahead, please.
I wanted to revisit the discretionary hiring recruitment money that we had put in place, or left in place. But I think we had done that with the idea that we were going to be also removing some positions from the budget. But that not well, some did get removed, but not all of them. So I wonder if that's still something that's really needed, if we already have money, as the mayor said, that when they recruit somebody and there's open positions, they simply move the money to that. So I'm wondering if that's money that we still need to leave in that position, and that on that budget line.
Is that a question you have?
Well, it's up for discussion. So I recommend that we just, since we have the other positions, that we just eliminate the recruitment funds. It's $15,000.
So you're suggesting eliminating that $15,000?
Yeah. But and then, like, you know, as all these discussions as we go around, we always say that this is something we haven't used, this is something we haven't used. However, during the time frame that we haven't used it, we have hired people.
I just want to point out that we were not able to use it. We tried to use it, and we were told by our law department we couldn't use it because it was under the mayor's budget. And the mayor was not able to use it because the person that he was trying to hire was in a different budget. And so that's why he was not allowed to use it. And that's why this year we moved it into the unallocated area, so that whatever budget the person comes in or out of, if the mayor wants to give him a raise to, then he will be able to do it. So that's the reason why we were not able to do it all of last year when we tried to do it. I think we tried to do it twice, and both times we were rejected.
Were we still able to hire people?
Huh?
Were we still able to hire
We
individuals?
still had to hire because we needed the people.
Go ahead, please.
So I would argue keeping it so that staff would have the discretion and the mayor would have the discretion, especially when we're trying so hard to hire and fill some of the vacancies. It gives the opportunity to be able to, you know, have some flexibility in that. So I keep it.
So, Mr. Ferrari, you mentioned that with all the hire last year, we didn't utilize any funding from this line. So I'm not sure if the hires are coming in and it's being processed and yet we're not utilizing this fund, and what is the need, why is the need for it? Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to hear from the mayor on that, but I think that there was some flexibility that he had to use, but I think what Mr. Ferrari just explained was because of,
It was
It wasn't-
under the mayor's budget.
right,
Our law department told us we cannot use it for another budget. Another department.
The legislative intent with that money was clear. The law department was taking what I consider to be a flawed theory. It's not worth arguing over. We were able to work it out. We always try and be as conservative and prudent in the fiscal analysis of hiring people to do it within the existing appropriation. So, you know, if the council wants to leave it there, create some flexibility for me to hire above the adopted budget limits. If you don't want to do it, it comes up, and I would just come back to the council and seek approval for the individual hire.
Go ahead, please.
So I'm understanding you correctly, Mr. Mayor, you're saying that if we move that money out of that line, but if there's someone that you want to bring in and you want to make them a more attractive offer than what was stated, then you could just come back and say, hey, this person, and we want to do. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And most times what we've been able to do is, when you're hiring somebody, the position is vacant. So there is money within the line, so I can expend it to the budgeted amount. And then when I come back in the budget process and say I hired so-and-so last year, going forward, why the number deviates from whatever would be a standard pay increase or other things, that ask the council's support for it. Generally, the council's been supportive of that. I think your indication so far is you denied me that opportunity one time this year.
And to add to that, correct, yes, we have done over the past years budget reappropriation when we are moving people or position around. And either we move funds from within the department to offset that, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Ferrari.
Within departments.
And it's a
departments.
zero
You don't go
impact.
from department to
Yes.
department, it's
Within
always
the
within
department.
departments.
So we have done that over a lot of times. Any other question on this? Are there any other discussion regarding to this sheet? This general fund sheet here with the next proposed changes? Go ahead, please.
well, again, I mean, there were several things on this sheet that I don't agree with. So I guess we'd have to go back and give me back this sheet now with the changes on it. But, I mean, for example, 1210, 100, that person has already been hired, I believe, at the figure that's in the budget. So I don't think you can reduce somebody's salary. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if the person's already in place at the one figure, that's just one example. I mean, again, the city council raises would not be something that I'd be in favor of, but, you know, so there's a number of places where I would still not be in favor, but I don't know how my colleagues.
Any other discussion on this sheet?
So,
Go ahead.
just for Mr. Ferrari to clarify that the questions you had regarding this budget item right here, where, let's see. No,
Engineer.
no, it's not engineer. This one right here. This is the mayor, where, this was what was proposed in the budget, and we left it there.
Correct.
And so the question from Ms. Patrick was,
Am I reading this wrong? I thought you were reducing it to 57,390.
and the mayor's budget was, and that was like where it came in, it was his proposal, but he's saying this last year, when the other person, or actually, excuse me, this year, when the other person left and this person was hired, that was the amount of the salary.
So the 2023 adopted budget carry 57,390 for that position. Go ahead, please.
So, that 57,390 does not include a 4% increase, is that what you're saying?
Correct, that's what they've adopted, so given management raises across the board except for that one position.
Well, I'd certainly be open to 4%, but it was more like, I don't know, a lot more, so I'd be open to the 4%.
I would definitely be open to whatever's consistent, to the mayor's point, that we've been doing across the board.
What is our workout to be, Mr. Ferrari?
59,686.
Any discussion on that? I'm good with that also, that 4%. Any other discussion on this sheet? So let me just recap that. So we're adding 4% to 12, 10, 100, and bring that to 59,686. Is that the correct number, Mr. Ferrari? 59,686?
59,686, yeah, it's a reduction of 4,314.
Yeah, and then there's a proposal on the table to reduce to $500,000 on the police line 3122-112 to 350,000, and 3123-112 to 77,000, and then the fire department 3412-112 to 350,000. Then there is a request on the table to move 100,000 back from line 1441-404 fees for service back to line 1441-100 civil engineer line, $100,000, and that's a zero impact move.
Mr. Chairman, does that include the fringe benefits that would be carried in the
I
second
did not put a
line?
fringe benefit on that,
Okay,
yeah,
but
100,000 was straight.
Cool.
When the request was made by Mr. Palomini and I believe Ms. Patrick as well, they said to put, I'm not sure how that didn't happen, but what was said was, it was the 100,000 and the fringe.
Okay, and I did not put the fringe,
It's
I
not
put
me.
strictly
Yes.
100,000.
Just Mr. Palomini?
And it worked out well. because-
Yeah, sorry, that's close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be 100,000 plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next suggestion on the table was the mayor's recruitment fund, $15,000 to remove that. Any discussion on that before we move on?
And it was my suggestion, it was just because, you know, we haven't used it and other money has been moved to a line in order to hire people. And the mayor said if he needs to, that he would come back to us for it. My hope would be that we would be able to hire as many people as vacancies we have, but it just has not been what has happened.
Finance committee
I
members
support including that.
support
Including that.
including that.
And the changes?
Including the recommendation to remove it.
Are there any other discussion regarding today's item? For me, I don't see any issue with supporting these. I'm comfortable reverting back the police and fire overtime back from 500,000 to 350, and the one line of 77,000. So overall, reducing that back, the three lines to $333,000. So putting back into these two departments and adding 4% onto the line 12, 10, 100. Moving the fees for service line back into the civil engineer line of 100,000 plus French benefit. That should be a zero impact. And support the $15,000 recruitment fund. Any other members on finance?
Yep, I support that as well.
I do not.
Okay. I'd like to move a motion to move forward with this general fund. Go ahead, please.
You can move forward on it, but now your revenues are gonna be off by $320,296, because you're changing this, but you're not moving your revenues.
I think, go ahead, please.
Oh, no,
I think Mr. Williams addressed it in terms of taking it out from the reserve, general reserve.
You can take it out of fund balance.
And that was a recommendation from on the table. Anything else we need to give to you, or
Excuse me?
anything else we need to provide to you with regards to the sheet?
And if that's the way you're gonna do it, no, I'll go back and redo the sheet if you like me to.
Definitely.
In terms of the, I think we need to address the, I think it's the water fund.
Well, if the staff's done research, you have to look at the bucket shifts on the water and sewer. So what you do is, under the ARPA guidelines, you can't use that $2.5 million for funds allocated cannot be used directly or indirectly to offset tax reductions or delay tax or tax increases.
So are we now categorizing the fees a tax?
We are.
Yeah.
It's also consistent with what the Supreme Court said.
all goes out on the tax bill, it's labeled as different things, whether it's,
I thought the fee was separate from the tax, and the tax is separate from the fees.
they're different funds, but under the ARPA guidelines, what staff has reviewed, and it's in that criteria where you cannot use that for that purpose.
So then I guess we're gonna have to revisit that particular item, and it is interesting conversation though that we, in times past, call them fees and not taxes, and at this table.
It's, becomes whatever the word choice is, but point out the court rulings and the interpretation is really uniform for, it all ends up on the tax bill. And when people are writing their checks, they don't say this is a fee, this is a tax, this is an assessment, this is, I'll go in either the city, county, or school district.
And that's exactly what residents say when we increase the fees, although we say it's not a tax, it's a fee, so. We're getting to where it really is.
Go ahead, please.
Well, I don't think we've actually talked about the fees yet, right, in any of our budget
Well, we did
discussions?
address one of the fees last week.
Yes.
We only had to address water.
I think we've only addressed it by saying that some of the council members didn't want to have the fees, but.
And then the 2.5 million went into offset.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I
overall.
thought that was overall
Yes,
budget,
yes,
not just the
yes,
fees.
for that. Go ahead, please.
I'm not completely opposed to any increases that are shifted to the community. I think all too often, local governments resort to these types of measures to help offset increases. And I would like to see the efforts that we're making tonight or over the past few days with evaluating the operational efficiencies of our city government prior to putting that demand out to the community. And I'm confident that these steps will delay that, which is truly inevitable. However, I do not think resorting to increases should be the city's first position.
Mr. Moderator.
Oh, sorry, please.
Yeah, so my thoughts around that are really that I think people in the city of Schenectady have some pretty exceptional services that are offered to them compared to surrounding municipalities. And I would love to make sure that we can sustain that. If there's any other way to sustain that level of service without passing that cost on to the people of the city of Schenectady, I think we're all gonna end up in favor of that. But I do think that we just should recognize that there is a exceptional services that are provided to people that live in the city of Schenectady. So we know that we're gonna have to reckon with that in some way in order to maintain that level of consistency.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
I
please, go ahead.
mean, and I know one of the reasons that the request for this is that we are seeing what has been named jackpots, we're just seeing large amounts of trash out there. But that's not everyone in the city. There's some people put out one bag a week. And so in order to passing this on to everyone, I am opposed to that, but finding a solution that allows us to make sure that the people who are engaging in putting out so much trash on a very regular basis, that those people bear the cost of that, and not spread this out among all taxpayers who are not all participating in creating the increase. So I know that's what it's for, but we have to figure out a better way than just blanketly saying everybody sharing that cost. But our point right now is to cover that 2.5 million.
I have to say, I'm glad that we are highlighting the fees as now being a tax towards the taxpayers in the city of Schenectady. I'm glad that McCarthy has highlighted that, so we all know now that the fees is a tax increase to our taxpayer in the city. I am, like some of my colleagues, I am against passing on the burden to the taxpayer. I cannot support any increase to our taxpayer this year. We need to find ways of how we can offset this. If we can't use the $2.5 million in ARPA funding to offset, the, we can't use it to offset the sewer. We need to find other ways to, money from other general reserve or somewhere else to offset that cost, and let's move forward.
Maybe incorrect, but the general reserve is separate funding from these two items. They have their own fund system.
But we did transfer money out from here, so we need to transfer it back.
I know you do.
Yes, we did.
What are the reserves right now on sewer and water?
It's right now.
It's right here.
So Mr. Woodbury is asking a question what the reserves are in sewer and water.
Okay, you asked the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm gonna take it with me. It's open.
I had an exam.
Did you? When we got back. Yeah, he's not going to move in. I have a feeling that they go on
Now to explain where we are. That would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice if you said, done so, like, this is what we're doing.
That goes on her butt. Where she sits down. And I'm like, oh.
I'm writing stuff in the car.
Or that. Is it a sino or something, or not? Just a normal field?
It had to be done probably 45 minutes. She sat there the whole time, just rechecking her answers over and over again.
Oh, that's a good pharmacist.
No, that's good, yeah, yeah. But at some point,
But you second guess yourself.
yeah, that's what I said.
I can, I can remember doing it.
Turned it on.
But yeah,
On the fund balance. Wait, no, we gotta wait for John.
You must have went,
John and Carl.
She's there.
Okay. It's still muted.
I did it, I just saw you.
Oh,
So I get it.
We don't have a chance to go over this. Mr. Curry, just want to walk us through
All right.
the priority.
I put in the changes from the original budget to, with the proposed changes, and it gives you the new budget figures. And as I go them, any increase is positive, any decrease is negative. We went down in the police overtimes, you see I've changed it into minus 350, minus 77,000, minus 350. Total changes come to $1,190,277. Then the benefit portion of all those changes is minus $222,417. It gives us a total change of about $1,412,694. So that's the expense side of it. So what we have to do is get our revenues to change that the same amount. So we took the original budget, the mayor's budget of $6.9 million, and for trash changes, we subtracted out the $1.7 million and the new budget of $5.2 million, and then the appropriate fund balance to make up the difference. In the mayor's budget is 3.8, we're adding the 320,296, which I had mentioned earlier. So the new use of appropriated fund balance is 4.1 million. So the new budget would be 109,673,726, which matches the expense side. Just want to mention that the appropriated fund balance of 4,120,000 is 50% of the 8.4 million that we could use. So I just want to let you know that.
Oh my gosh.
Could you touch on the water and sewer?
Excuse me?
That's general,
It's just general.
general.
Yep.
Yes. One in the sewer.
I did not do anything to water or sewer. Derek has passed out to you analysis of fund balances. Derek, can I just go through what they are?
Yeah, of course,
We highlighted them for you with
It's
numbers.
highlighted for you, so the general fund, as Anthony stated, unassigned funds at $8.4 million, so if you do decide to use that $4.1 million of appropriate fund balance, that's approximately 50% that'll be wiped out, which the city would not be in a position at that point. If you look at the water fund, you have $2.2 million of assigned funds and 3.1 million of assigned funds.
It can be used in the sewer fund.
Correct.
Any question on these?
Those are officially audited figures, they're not stuff that we made up, okay?
You didn't say that,
No, I'm just saying, I don't have to, if somebody's like, oh, if these numbers, if they have are these numbers correct, they're officially audited.
oh, yes, please.
So the mayor passed out information that, said that we could not use the 2.5 million, which was our intent, the sewer, fund. So I raised the question whether we could then use that back into the budget for salaries or overtime positions. And so, if Mr.
Google.
What do you want? Okay, Mr. Guggenheim can speak to that if you don't mind. Mr. Rivera?
Yes, please, yes.
So the council wanted further clarification on the 2.5 million, so I thought it would be best to possibly reach out to the treasury or to our CPA firm for further clarification on that matter.
In terms of clarification, of using it into the general fund or using it for water and sewer? The sewer?
Either fund.
Oh.
Either one, okay.
I think Anthony and I came to consensus that it's probably not our best interest to use the 2.5 million in any of those funds.
But we're gonna find out for sure.
But you're gonna find out if we can use it in the general fund to offset some of these expense.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess we can move forward tonight. Because it all depends on how we utilize that $2.5 million. Go ahead, please.
I'm a little confused about the use of the ARPA funds because my understanding was that you're only allowed to use a certain percentage for the expenses, which we've already put 6.6. If we put 2.5, we're way over what we should be able to allocate.
I think what Mr. Van was trying to say is he wanted to use the 2.5 for overtime and stuff like that, which we don't think is possible because we think you have to have a specific overtime reason, using ARPA funds.
But I did mention fees and fees for service.
Well, again, like I said, when we did allocate fees and fees for services and other allocations in the budget, we've always separated. We had two lines for fees for services. We had regular fees for services, then we had ARPA fees for services. I'm just trying to see what are the chiefs back there who help us do the budget. Because it's specifically for ARPA things, especially for drugs, for stuff like that, like you're using for ARPA, on the police side, it was for the gloves, for the masks, for the stuff.
Right, we're saying the same thing.
Cleaning the cars in between the shifts,
Right.
stuff like that, that was the difference,
So,
Yeah, but it's not premium.
so,
Go ahead.
We don't want to put the city in jeopardy or any individual in jeopardy.
so we want to get further clarification. That's good. I agree with that.
And I did mention that.
Yeah.
Clarification is needed, there's no need to move forward with knowing that there's gonna be, somebody's gonna get a penalty for this.
Yeah, we don't want to come back in a few years and have to pay it back, that's for sure.
Understood.
I wish this had known earlier for us to kind of, discuss across the board.
We didn't-
Unfortunately, we got it
we
at the
didn't-
last minute.
We started researching it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was out Monday, so, I didn't have a chance to get a grasp of it.
I mean, did you find out 5 minutes ago when we received it, or?
I believe it was sometime today, was it?
Yeah, sometime it's late afternoon.
But either way, we're saying that we need to get further clarification because, okay, so yeah.
Like I said, we don't want to put the city or
We
anybody in
can't do it
jeopardy.
again
I
tonight.
understand. I understand.
And I agree with that, Mr. Ferrari. I mentioned in the office, and I'm on board with that.
Change plans, cancel meetings.
So I don't think we can move forward with the water and sewer, because there needs to be adjustment, clarification and adjustment to these two funds. So I'm suggesting that we recess the meeting to October 31st or November 1st.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, we're waiting for the, pivotal information, so recess is unfortunately our option, which I support.
Well, that's because of the decisions that you're making. That's why you have to do it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
Well, it's because we're trying to be able to use that 2.5, that's absolutely not a question. So, and I agree that we should, it seems like every time we come to the table, we don't have all the information. So one of the things that I would ask is if there's some things within the budget that the mayor and the finance department see that we are not able to do that we have that information ahead of time, that we have an opportunity to take a look at it and have that discussion. And, you know, it would make this process a lot easier as opposed to seeing it when we arrive here. So I'm supporting that, and this gives everyone a length of time to look at everything that we get if we postpone until the 31st or the 1st, which is our deadline, I believe, Mr. Marnie. We absolutely have to,
It's the 1st of November.
okay, the 1st of November. So, you know, I, just along with everyone else, would like to see us have a budget, but we just aren't there yet.
There's no reason to delay till November 1st or October 31st, that we can meet in between and get this done.
Any other suggestion for October 31st or the 1st of November? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just worried that, you know, we might have the information from Mr. Ferrari's office about what we can use the 2.5 for. So we might have it tomorrow or Thursday. So
Right.
I think we need to meet long before the 31st or the 1st, because then we need to make accommodations of what we can do if we don't have the funds. So 31st to the 1st is way too much of, close to our deadline, unless we're gonna be here till midnight on the 1st.
No, we have done that almost close to midnight now.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's not
I
an
think
issue,
it's-
that's our job.
I agree, I think we can meet before the 31st or the 1st. I think that, again, don't forget that we were presented with a fair and balanced budget, so some of the comments that have happened over the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours that we've spent working on this budget over the last couple of weeks, I think it's been, if everything could have been avoided, including needing to find out. I'd also like to point out that our Commissioner of Finance and Deputy Commissioner are basically saying that they don't recommend using the 2.5 million. So even the idea that they have to go to ask for further information goes against, once again, what our department heads are suggesting as the appropriate budget.
Yeah, from perspective. But the thing is that we were given this piece of paper today to say that 2.5
So
million
that's because you
cannot
guys
be
introduced
used.
the whole 2.5 million, I
Yeah,
think
but
on
we have-
Friday, right?
Well, we're trying to reducing it because we don't want to pass the burden on to the back of taxpayers. So when you use those words, you're gonna say that we're trying to say, there isn't a balanced budget. The proposed budget was presented to us as a council. It is our job to go through the budget and to analyze it and to see where we can have some saving, and that's what we're doing. And to say those words, we should have a chance to say nothing? Is that what you're trying to imply? That some of
No,
us should have a
No,
chance
but
to
I'm
say
just
nothing?
saying, I just,
Because it's a balanced budget that was presented to us?
what I'm saying is that even the 2.5 million was introduced only on Friday,
Yes.
so it's not like,
So that's okay, and now we came back with this, so we're giving them an opportunity now to go to the auditor and to get clarification and come back to us. can we use it or can we not?
So
And
we
if we
could
can
do that
use it,
tomorrow. We
if
could
we
do
can
that
use
tomorrow or
it,
Thursday.
then we can move forward. They will have to readjust the budget and then bring it back to us.
Mhm.
If majority of the council wants to meet tomorrow afternoon, fine with it.
I'll be bearing my father tomorrow. I won't be available tomorrow.
Also this
I
Friday.
Friday?
There's also Friday. I mean, there's tomorrow, Thursday and Friday.
Well, you can't meet Thursday.
Well, I already canceled a meeting tonight. I rescheduled it for tomorrow night. Most of my people that were supposed to be at the meeting tonight now can't come tomorrow night because I've inconvenienced them. So if I can't go on Thursday, I can't go on Thursday. I'd have to come here.
Well, I think what, to your point, and to the point of the around the table, it's like we get the information when there's not a lot of time to analyze it. So don't have a problem with looking at all the information, looking at the different scenarios, and just waiting a week as we review it to come back and talk about it. That's,
How much more do we need to review it? I mean,
well, this brought us to another review.
But who knows if we're not gonna meet on the next meeting and have another piece of paper like this thrown to us.
So I just like to say multiple things can be true here, okay? We got the information, we presented information when we presented it, and we got new information when we got it. It's not a shot or attack on anyone here at the table, and it doesn't need to be. We are obligated upon new information to consider that new information, and our decision should then reflect the new information that we then have. So whether we're talking about meeting in a couple days or next week, I think we are compelled to receive this new information so we can make an informed decision. And I think that that's something that we should all be able to agree upon that. And so let's figure out when we're going to reconvene in order to do that, please.
If majority of the council would like to meet tomorrow, go ahead and meet.
I will not be
If
able,
you can't
I
meet the
cannot
next
meet
day,
tomorrow.
go ahead and meet. If we have 4 members who would like to meet Thursday, then the meeting will be called.
I can meet Thursday.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, please.
again, want to just clarify that, again, it's been a dynamic process. Staff reviewed that. That information was provided to me at 3 o'clock, a little after 3 this afternoon. It was provided to council a little after 5. So it was not this big time lag in terms of analysis. These are things that we've gone over before. That's been part of our standard presentation on ARPA money, what it could be used for and could not be used for. And what I would say to the council, the path that you seem to be going down in terms of using fund balance, if the magnitude you're going to do it will adversely affect the credit rating
That's right.
in our next rating call and will have an adverse effect on the overall financial position 12 months and 24 months down the road.
So let me just go back. Mr. Torrey says Thursday is good for you.
Thursday's
Who else
fine
is
with
okay
me.
for Thursday?
I'll
You,
meet Thursday.
Thursday?
what time are we talking? Can we meet at like 4 or 4:30?
Well, we have to see if we have that thing. So we have Palomini, Ms. Toro, Ms. Patrick. Who else Thursday? I'm not available Thursday.
I just want to take more time to try to look at everything that we get. It's just been a lot. And, every time we get it and then we sit around this table and discuss it as opposed to hearing ahead of time. So whatever we get if they hear back from the CPA and all of that. So I just, I'm okay with it the 31st or the 1st. We're still within the time the mayor suggested it last night. I don't know why now it's a problem.
By the way, what's wrong with the 30th? We don't have a city council meeting on the 30th, right? That's Monday?
Oh, yeah.
So we could also do 30th. Probably all of us are free, I would imagine, given that it would have been a city council meeting.
I'm available whenever.
31st, somebody will have to answer the doorbell.
That's right.
Let's come to City Hall.
Oh.
If there are 4 members who are available on Monday, the 30th,
Mhm.
who else is available Monday?
I'm available.
I
Well,
would be
you're the
like
chair,
what
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor, are you
Toro said.
available?
No, I'm not available. I told very clearly I'm available October the 31st or November the 1st. If there's a majority in the council, the meeting can move forward. And that's what I'm trying to facilitate.
I think it's important, in my mind anyway, to have the chair of finance here with us.
Again, it becomes the council's decision, but the
presented
process is to have it reviewed and moved out of the finance committee as a recommendation going to the full council. Now you're talking about having just a working majority of the council, which still may meet the criteria, but again, you've adopted some things that at best I would call interesting, and have to sort through this in a way that we can actually put in place a budget that I'm gonna feel confident and have the ability to administer going forward.
Go ahead, please.
So I'd say based on that and the spirit of making concessions and accommodating our personal schedules, although the first would be preferential, I think meeting as soon as possible based on your availability, I'd say the 31st.
I'm available on the 31st.
Any other dates?
I'm gonna be able to either one of those days, the 31st or the 1st.
Mr. Farley.
I'm available 31st. Or the 1st, actually.
31st, Tuesday. Mr. Williams, you said 31st also? And you're not available on the November 1st? Is that what you said?
Nope, I'll make myself available on the 1st as well.
Any other suggested date? You see that we have a majority on Tuesday, the 31st. So I will ask for a motion to recess the finance committee.
Can I just say one more thing while we're in finance?
Please.
Can I just ask that any additional information that the council's gonna need to consider be during this time frame sent to us so that we can have an opportunity to review and then have any discussion or bring any comments at that time, so that we're not, again, in this position where we're here and then we're discussing and trying to figure out how to move things around. That would be my request.
Is it gonna happen?
But how, I mean, what more information do we need? I mean, I don't really understand why we're even delaying it past tonight.
Well, I think that it's important that we recognize that last time we left the table, even right now, based on what I've been being told and what I've heard, is that we are closer to an agreeable budget than we were before we recessed. You specifically said, Ms. Patrick, that, well, nothing, you're not gonna, and I don't know exactly who you're directing to, but you're not gonna change your mind on everything.
Right.
What came in today, though it might have not been to your satisfaction, and I can appreciate that, there was some considerable changes made. And I think that that's important that we acknowledge that that did happen over that course of time. And hopefully, once we get some clarification, we can continue along that trend line to say, like, it doesn't, I don't want to minimize the progress that has been made. And I think it's important that for us to collectively work together that we acknowledge that.
I don't think that we've really made great progress here tonight.
I certainly didn't say great progress. I said progress.
No, I guess I wouldn't use the word progress.
You said before we recessed last meeting, you said nothing's going to change. You won't change your
That's
mind.
right.
You
I
said
did
that,
say
right?
that, and there were some changes that people made. I'm just saying that, to me, the changes are still not acceptable.
I'm sure.
So we're gonna come back together on Tuesday, and I'm sure there's still gonna be those of us that would not be happy with those changes.
Well, I don't think that in any case scenario, all of us leave
Now we're
here
going with using
happy. I don't think
50% of
that-
our of what we have in the fund balance. I mean,
No.
that's even worse, right? I mean, I don't know.
That's why that's the point of it being in a negotiation, is because there's a reasonable expectation that you might not get everything that you want, but people are making reasonable, informed decisions and accommodations where they can, and that's how the process has been moving thus far. Maybe not to your satisfaction, and certainly not to mine.
Because
However,
I think
it
we're
has
just gonna have to
it has been
disagree
trending,
on that one, but.
and I'm fine with that.
Move forward.
Yes, I'd
please.
appreciate
Do
it.
you ever talk together?
Please.
Yeah, I'll call you later.
Michael Love in my meeting. So a motion to recess,
Wait,
oh,
You didn't say which time on Tuesday.
Tuesday, say 5 p.m.
Mr. Chairman.
Wednesday.
And again,
Then you gotta have
in the budget process, if the council would articulate clear objectives and goals that you want, and then let me take it back to department heads to be able to implement that. So if you want a budget number to be higher or lower, let the department head make the decision, as opposed to going through where you're picking on overtime lines. And I will tell you, those lines, I believe, are fair and adequately budgeted for. And even within the police department, I've told you that that contract is up at the end of the year, and there's been no indication for anybody to give me any okay to move ahead. And I don't want to get into the public on that, but if you give goals, go back to department heads and then say, this is what that goal will do it, but this is the cost of it. Does the money go up or down? Does the service get slowed? Do we not fill as many potholes? Do we fill more potholes, pave streets? But it's an easier process to work with than what I'll classify kind of the random discussion that we're having now.
Total.
So, Mr. Mayor, to that point, I can say that in times past, it's generally not part of the council to deliberate, to discuss, and to help you with those negotiations. That's not been part of our process. So this is the first time this year that I've ever had that request made. So, because we're not in the room. And so, I don't even know if it's necessarily that we should say exactly this, because then we don't get to hear what's being said on the other side of the table, as we do here. So I just want to put that out there publicly, that it's just negotiations between the PBA and other unions is not something that the council generally engages in.
And I have to answer that actually, because many times we have discussed this, and you've made it very clear to us, you are the one who negotiated a contract, you will bring the contract to us when the time is right, and we'll discuss it and vote on it, and if we don't like it, we can reject it. So I'm not sure why you're asking us up front now to do something that you have told us over and over. It is not our responsibility.
Because in those budget assumptions, it will have the potential of a significant impact.
Are there any other discussion here? Oh, sorry.
Well, so if, the mayor is requesting that we, set goals and objectives, so that he can go back to his department heads, and that is something that we've said over and over again over the last couple of weeks, that hopefully we are paying attention to what our department heads are recommending. We need to do that tonight in order to get that information back in time to pass the budget.
Well, I would encourage anybody who has any suggestion, continue to email it to Mr. Ferrari, email it to the mayor, email it to Derek.
No, in terms of what goals are you trying to accomplish with the budget that you are presenting?
I think we were clear that the reason why we're holding it is to get clarification from the auditors in terms of how we can move forward with this 2.5 million. I'm not sure what else you want from us to lay on the table. It's a clarification of how do we move forward using this 2.5 million. And that's what we're
So
waiting
that's
on.
the only goal,
Yes.
is to try to use the
It's-
2.5
That's the
million
only
dollars.
reason why we're waiting on. And then we move forward after that. Any other discussion, please?
No, and then the mayor's request was individually, if we had any suggestions, to send it to him, so I think that's
Yes.
still the request.
If you have individual suggestions, please email the mayor, email the commissioner, the deputy commissioner. And if you choose, you can copy me, if you choose so. Any other discussion?
So that we don't get too fragmented, could we send it to the clerk and then the clerk
Good idea.
send it so that all the, we'll go stiffy with 500 emails saying, that,
Either way works for me. Any other discussion? Motion to recess the finance committee to Tuesday, October 31st at 5 p.m. Second? I'm gonna second it. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Before you leave, once again, I have to call to order the
Oh, yes.
special committee meeting, special council meeting to discuss pass the budget. But once again, we do not have a budget to pass, so yeah.
So you just
Well,
call
it's not about fault, it's about us having a discussion.
Carmel, we can do better than that, Carmel.
So.
Let's
okay,
not
ladies
let's
and
not
gentlemen,
take swipe at each other.
okay,
It doesn't work.
We're not gonna quarrel here, we can wait till after the meeting.
You've done that over several meetings now.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, so we are going to, once again, we reschedule our special council meeting, again, also on October 1st. And we will send out the announcements. And for those of you who are wondering why you had something delivered personally to your door, it was brought forward that we had to have personal delivery of those, even though for a special meeting, even though and again, in my 12 years, I've never seen it happen. It was sent to us.
Oh, no, I came to your house.
No, you must have given it to my mother.
No, here's you.
I-
What am I doing here?
So that's why, so if you're wondering why I showed up on your door, that's why, because it was said that it had to be personally delivered and we had a short time frame to do that.
Yeah, mine was personal. I
So,
checked.
yes, they all were personally
Did they?
delivered.
There was no postage.
So Madam Chair, we intend to do the same thing for the special meeting? For the
So,
31st?
my question probably is for, our Corporation Council, can we send it out by mail? And or do I have to drive around again? It's okay if I do.
Let me just take a look.
Doesn't specify as long as it's delivered to the usual place of residence. It doesn't indicate personal service.
It does or does not?
It does.
Okay.
My recommendation would also be the notice of meeting on the 1st of November as well, given the 3-day notice requirements, to ensure that we don't run into a scenario where the council can't call a special meeting to adopt the budget on the 1st of November as well.
So, say that again, please?
My recommendation would be to call a special meeting for both the 31st and the 1st, so we don't run into notice requirements for the
Okay.
1st, since we are at deadline
Right.
on the 1st.
Thank you very much, based on what we've been through, I would have to agree with that, so that's what we'll do. Is there any further discussion regarding this? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Special council meeting, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
He's gonna feel that. I need a second, please. Second by Mr. Williams, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Whose order is this? Anthony? I'm going to pour this out, you want to finish making it? Okay.
How about Mr. Williams' suggestion of adding 30% in, you're in favor?
I'll have Sarah get a hold of you, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it wasn't a bad decision to move back. funding to that money. I think it's well worth 40%. So, I mean, there's nothing that tell me that I don't support it. I don't support it. I think we're all looking across each department as to how we can be able to address some of the costs, and at the same time, we'll pass it on to the taxpayers. What we're looking at here, and I'm glad that the meeting clarified that it is not a fee, it's a tax. We've been saying that for years, it's a tax on the hard working taxpayer. When I say this, we keep taxing them, and we keep expanding it. Keep spending, increase our spending, and tax the taxpayer. It doesn't work that way. We need to tighten our belt. And this is where we need to start this year, tighten our belt. Cannot dig our heels in the sand and thinking that we're going to present the budget as is, the way it's proposed. We as a council have a functional responsibility to protect taxpayers.